Good morning, Magic. I'm Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about game stores and what we're doing with them now and going forward. And I thought, well, let's bring in someone who knows that inside out, someone who is literally their job to talk about game stores. So welcome to the show, Nelson Brown.
Hey, Gavin, thanks for having me, man. I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome. Now, Nelson, you've never been on the show before, so can you tell people what it is you do at Wizards exactly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am actually our Wizards Play Network community manager. And what that means is I foster essentially a broad relationship between Wizards of the Coast and our network of independent game stores across North America.
Awesome. And it's a really cool role. And how did you get started with Magic, Nelson?
Well, let me think back on that one. Way back in the mid-90s at the tender age of 5, I actually started playing Magic because, lo and behold, my older cousins and my brother were really into it. You know, they were the coolest people in my life, of course. And so I was dying to play this really cool game that I saw them playing all the time. Eventually, I think it was my parents who kind of strong-armed my brother into giving me my first, at the time, 40-card mono color green deck. And really, the rest is history. I've essentially been an avid fan ever since then.
Do you remember the first game store you ever played at?
I do, actually. It was Wizards of the Coast on the Ave, if you remember that one back in the day.
Oh yeah, so here in Seattle, there's a place called University Avenue, and there was the official Wizards of the Coast headquarters. We had all these game stores back in the day, and then there was this Wizards of the Coast store. It was this huge 2 or 3 story building with drafts firing around the clock and these giant battle pods and tournaments. It was really cool and give you a total home. You walked in there and you felt like that was your third place. You could just go and hang out there and have a blast.
Oh, yeah, it was so cool. I remember they had the big Hurloon Minotaur over the stairs going down to the land center down there. Many good memories.
I know for me, it was a bit of a different story. I grew up in a tiny little town called Edmonds here in Washington. And when I started playing, there's this little store down the road that no longer exists called Bigfoot's Comics and Cards. And I remember walking in there to just grab, I heard about there's a game store nearby. I gotta go check that out. So I asked my mom, I was maybe probably 11. Yeah, I was probably 11 years old. That's when I started playing. And we went in there and I bought a few booster packs. I've never been in a game shop like this before, bought a few booster packs. And then the guy behind the counter was like, hey, we got a draft on Friday. Do you want to come by and draft? And I'm like, what's a draft? And then before I knew it, I was coming back every week to play F&M and draft and play all kinds of truly wretched standard decks in F&M, all that good stuff. But it was a huge part of me as a player. I made so many friends that way. I connected with the Magic community that way. And I learned so much of being there in person, talking with people and having a blast. And those elements are just, there's so much to make me who I am, right? The same for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think back to college and I went to what became kind of my LGS as well. Same story. It was how I found some of my friends that, this was I don't want to age myself too much, but over a decade here ago now, that we still talk all the time. We still play games. So yeah, very important to kind of the history of my friendship and love of the game.
Well, this is all very apropos, I suppose, because what we're going to be talking about today is game stores. So Nelson works a lot with game stores all around the country and world in some cases. And I want to talk about the game store and its role in Magic because it's huge. Game stores to me are the lifeblood of Magic, right? They are what brings communities together. It is part of the gathering in Magic the Gathering. And Nelson, do you want to talk about that and elaborate there a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that game stores are not only the hubs of Magic, but in many ways just tabletop gaming culture in general, right? And it is truer than it's ever been. We've seen the game store culture grow so much in the last 10 years, and not just grow, but evolve as well in terms of the experiences that they offer, the levels of service. And really, when it comes to our products, it's hard to say that we would have the success that we've seen without game stores being such a big part of the culture. This is where people find their squad. It's where many people learn how to play Magic, discover Dungeons and Dragons for the first time, and really kick off those lifelong adventures.
So sometimes I'll get comments from people that are it seems like Wizards is trying to phase out game stores or stuff's not happening with game stores anymore. Now, I know that that's not what we're trying to do. Game stores are super important to us. But can you speak to that a little bit and talk about that feeling a little bit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, I just start off by saying game stores are still by far where most Magic tabletop paper product is sold, right? So this is from on the business side of things, this is our primary channel where product is sold, okay? But on the other side of things, we know that, again, this is not only where people learn the game, but where they establish relationships and connections with other people that keep them involved in the game. Since I've been working at Wizards of the Coast, and I've been working with the Wizards Play Network for about 8 years at this point, we've actually continually ramped up our investment into the program. And we plan to keep on doing that. And that's because we know how important it is to the success of our games.
So we've seen in the past several years things like, Walmart and big box stores show up. We've also seen a big one is Magic being sold on Amazon, right? And I've heard from a lot of people out there who are really worried about game stores, even game store owners are worried about it. How do you see like that playing in the ecosystem, right? Because it is another place you can go and buy Magic cards.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when it comes down to it, we want people to have access to our games, right? And there's a lot of game stores out there, but they're not everywhere. Not everyone necessarily has access to one. So these new channels like Amazon or Magic Arena is another good example, right? Like say if you're far away from a city center or you just don't have access to a game store, you may never be exposed to Magic without something like that. Now, of course, we want people to play Magic because we love Magic and we know that all they need is oftentimes just the chance to try it out. But also, we know that a lot of those players, after trying it out, are going to kind of graduate, if you will, into that LGS, into that local game store culture. So ultimately, these new channels give us more avenues to bring folks into the game and hopefully incorporate them fully into the LGS culture.
I see. So what you're saying is basically by bringing people in through some of these other channels like Amazon or Walmart, they will eventually go to a game store a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've definitely seen that happen.
And it's so important people find those stores too, right? I mean, that's where so much of the community, that you and I both love, comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I actually really like about it as well is what you'll often see in game stores is groups of people that maybe otherwise never would have hung out together, that come from different neighborhoods or different walks of life, but they come together for this shared interest, this shared passion for tabletop gaming. And honestly, it's a beautiful thing to see.
One thing I've truly always loved about Magic is it doesn't matter your background, where you're from, like anything about you. When we sit down, we're playing Magic. We're Magic players. We're having a good time. We're laughing, especially with something like Commander, right? Where it's like a super low stakes or no stakes in most cases, just like really casual format. Like doesn't matter what deck we brought or whatever. We're just sitting around laughing, having a good time playing Magic, and like that's the great unifier to me. Like we all rally behind the flag of Magic together, and I think that is so cool. No matter what walk of life we come from, I really love it.
Absolutely, and I think we've all seen that situation where folks maybe are kind of initially shy with one another, but when they both kind of discover, oh, you're into Magic too, you're into Magic, and it really just opens up and it kind of blossoms from there.
I mean, I'll travel like all around the world to different places for Magic or just personally, and I always try and visit a game store wherever I go. And I was literally like on this island called Madeira in Portugal over New Year's, and I found one tiny game store on the island, and I walk in, and immediately I found someone who's like, "Oh, hey, you want to play some Magic?" And it's like that connection is instantaneous. It's like it's like a secret. It's like when you're playing D&D and you walk into like the like adventurers tavern, and everyone like starts talking to each other because they're all adventurers. That's what it always feels like to me. It's like an adventuring tavern in every city, which I think is pretty darn sweet. We've actually got to go on a few trips together too, right? Like looking at games. Do you want to talk more about the store visit program we do to like learn about what's out there in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So another part of my job as community manager is actually getting kind of like boots on the ground and visiting stores around North America. I've been to, at this point, over 200 game stores myself. I think a couple of dozen of those have been with you as well, Gavin. And that is really important to us too, because we have a lot of channels of communication with our stores. That's very intentional. We stay in pretty constant contact with retailers via email. We've got like Facebook groups and things like that. But really, you got to get into the store to really understand what that environment's like and have those deeper conversations about what's working for game stores, what is new and changing in the gaming culture. So I'll be honest with you, that's pretty much my favorite part of the job is getting to actually go to the stores, talk to the retailers, and to see the players enjoying the games that we make.
And we learn so much from all sides. Like you're learning a lot from your side, in your role. I'm learning a lot as a game designer, right? When I go out and go to like 8 stores, we often like time it around, say a pre-release weekend or a recent release, talking to game stores about what's working, what products are going well, what products are not going well, like, what the feeling is there, what cool things you're doing. I've gone back and been inspired to go make changes to what we're doing in upcoming sets and product lineups because of what we learned by talking to game stores. There's another one of the many incredible things that happen. So you never know. You might see Nelson and I just walk into a game store somewhere. We've been to like Toronto together and Austin together, or Dallas together rather. Sometimes we just go down and go visit a bunch of game stores in a weekend. It's a great time. So if you ever see me just trot on in, you know what might be going on. So speaking of game stores, we got a few different kinds of classifications internally, and I want to talk about a big one that I think is not necessarily even fully understood by a lot of players, and that's premium. So we have regular game stores, we have premium game stores. Can you kind of talk about that distinction and what premium means, Nelson?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of start it off here, I want to talk about why we have WPN Premium. So what it is essentially is premium is a designation by Wizards of the Coast of what we consider to be the highest quality, the best in class, world class game stores. And this actually came about a few years back. I think it was about 5 or 6 years that we were really starting to think about this in earnest. But we were already seeing the LGS evolve, right? I think it was like in the early 2000s, maybe early 2010s, we started seeing stores really lean into not just offering product or even just offering a place to stay and play, but rather really cool environments, right? Like thinking back to like that Wizards of the Coast store that we went to back when we were kids, right? You've got really cool displays, decor, really high quality customer service. Maybe there's additional amenities like a cafe, or maybe you even offer things like escape rooms, right? Unique experiences that really add a whole new layer to that game store experience. So we saw this, we loved it. Not only were we seeing game stores evolve, but kind of the perception, right, of what a game store could be. And we wanted to encourage that. So we did start looking into WPN Premium and ways that we could evaluate stores on this. We wanted this to be qualitative. We didn't want this just to be, you check boxes and reach certain like play metrics or things like that. So we also looked at what we could provide those stores to kind of reward them and further signify them at this high level of quality.
Okay, so when a player sees a premium store, when they walk into a premium store, what kind of things can they expect? Like, what are some of the things and the benchmarks that you're looking for in particular?
Yeah, great question. So they can expect two broad things. Really cool store environments. So organized, good layouts where they can understand, okay, if I'm looking for this type of product, I go here. The play space is over here, and it's got designated spots for mini war games or whatever they're offering, TCGs, all that good stuff. But the other big side of this is customer service. And the way that we actually evaluate this is stores that are interested in WPN Premium we'll send in a video walkthrough kind of demonstrating that they have the things that we're looking for their physical store space. But also what we'll do at some point in the process is send a secret shopper to test their customer service, right? So again, we're really looking for these qualitative aspects of a store that really make players go, man, that is a store that I want to return to. I want this to be, as you said before, kind of my third place where I can hang out and feel comfortable, bring my friends, bring my family members. One kind of barometer we like to think about too is like a place where someone would feel totally comfortable bringing their parents, right? That maybe like aren't super into the gaming culture.
So premium stores have a lot of cool stuff going on about them, but one thing that have gotten in the past are special products or activities. Or like right now, for example, we've got the store championship promos where if you're a premium store, you get your name on the promo. Can you talk about like what the goals of that are and why we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the special benefits that we give WPN Premium, and first of all, I just want to say the vast majority of material and service supports that we provide to WPN stores, those are going to every store in the network. When we talk about materials that we want to send to WPN Premium, what we aim for are things that are cool, they're worthy of pursuit, but not business critical. So first off, like worry not, things like pre-release, promo packs, buy a box promos, the very many kind of core support options that we provide, those are always going to be all WPN stores. When we talk about things that we're providing to WPN Premium, we're talking about things like elevated promotional materials, or like you mentioned, for the store championship promos, which again, go to all stores in the WPN, but if you're a WPN Premium store, it'll have the store name actually printed on the promo. Some of the cooler stuff that we've done in the past, we'll do these kind of like one-offs, are things like installing Magic-inspired murals at stores or displays. We've also sent out these really cool Chandra statues to stores that were interested in that. But we'll also provide things that are more functional. So for example, last year we sent WPN premium stores that opted into it streaming kits, so that they could stream like feature matches or unboxings, things like that. And kind of even more functional than that, we'll send things like organizational tools, right? So like booster dispensers or binders where stores can keep their singles, things along those lines.
Okay, so WPN Premium gets a bunch of extra cool stuff, but it does sound like, I just want to be clear about this, a lot of stuff goes to other game stores too, right? Like you said, the promos go out to everyone. Premium gets the special names on them. What are some supplies we send to everyone? Product, of course, pre-releases, of course, but standees, posters, like that kind of thing, is that still going to all the game stores out there?
Yeah, exactly. So I can give you a kind of a rundown of, like, for example, for most of our major Magic releases, we'll send all stores in the WPN a poster so that they can advertise it, right? We've also got a suite of digital materials that they can use for like their online listings or print out additional materials if they'd like. We're pretty proud of this. We just got nominated for a TAGI, which is a kind of an industry award here, for a new custom marketing materials program that we're running that essentially allows stores to kind of pick and choose what materials they want for a given set, and even do things like add their store name to it. Now, this is something that we're actually testing with US WPN Premium stores, but this is another great example of how WPN Premium works, because our plan is to eventually roll this out to all stores in the network in all regions. But by having this select group of stores, we can kind of do a pilot run, work out some of the kinks before we move on to expanding it to everybody else.
I know we've done that even on the game design side before, testing with premium stores, right? Back when we were doing some stuff with Brawl, we were running an experiment with the format with some stores, I think in Latin America was what we ended up doing. So we can connect with premium stores to help make sure that they can test stuff out for us in advance. We can both learn from it and make it as good as possible. And premium also gives, I guess, like, would you say like a certain level, it's going to be run at to see like, okay, at a baseline, if this store can succeed with it, well, that means many other stores might have a shot of it succeeding with it, something like that.
That's exactly right. That's a good example. Another great one that's actually coming up here is, I think it was a couple summers ago, we tested out Booster Draft at pre-release at some premium stores, and lo and behold, the Brothers War, here it comes. Booster Draft is available at all WPN stores. So yeah, like you said, it gives us kind of a runway where we can test out new programs, figure out how it's going to work, make improvements before rolling it out more widely.
So the testing thing, totally get that. That's awesome. Like, that's a great thing that we can done at these premium stores. I will ask, like, sometimes players ask me, with all this extra cool stuff we're doing, why not just send it to every store? Can you elaborate on that, Nelson? Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, Premium exists because we want stores to aspire to it, right? These are qualities that we believe that will be beneficial to anyone's business, but sometimes, and we've heard this a lot from stores that have actually achieved WPN Premium, they just need a little bit of encouragement, right? Or a little bit more of an incentive to kind of reach for that higher bar, kind of take the time to plan out what they need to do to maybe upgrade their space or something like that. And these WPN Premium benefits can serve as that, right? This is just that little bump they need to go, oh man, store name printed promos, that's really cool. Okay, maybe I'll rethink my layout here and see if I can work with one of our business development specialists to get there. And the other side of it, like we said before, sometimes we actually plan to roll it out to everyone. We just want to test it out first with WPN Premium stores. And it allows us to do things that, just to be real with you, maybe we wouldn't have the resources to roll out very widely. Store name printed promos are a good example of this. We think these are really cool. Even as players at Wizards of the Coast, we know how awesome it is to have this like bespoke store name store from your LGS because you performed well in a store championship there. But the truth is, it takes a lot of resources to do that, a lot of planning. Not to say eventually we couldn't expand a benefit like that, but as of right now, we have the ability to use our resources to do it for a smaller group of stores, but it just would not be practical to do it with all 6,000 plus stores in the Wizards Play Network.
Chandra statue is also pretty good example of that. Very hard to send a gigantic statue that I don't know how much they cost, but it's probably not cheap to 6,000 stores. Is that the number, by the way? 6,000 stores in the WPN network?
It is roughly. I think it's somewhere in the 6,000 odd range. We've always got new stores coming in as well, so that may change, but that's where we're sitting on a global level.
Wow, that's so cool to think there's like that many game stores out there, right? I mean, I can think of a bunch local off the top of my head, but really it shows how global of a game like Magic really is.
Oh, absolutely. And gaming culture is growing all the time. I mean, the fact that we're seeing such proliferation from game stores really shows you that we are, as gamers, I think we're all gamers here, are really seeing that continued push into the mainstream, and it is beautiful to behold.
So let's talk about just all stores here for a second. One thing that's really crucial with the local game store, especially with other avenues of buying things, Amazon, Walmart, etc., out there, are unique things for game stores, special things we're doing just for them. So what are some things we're doing right now to call out? And also, can you give us any hints at kind of what's coming in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So there are a number of ways that we benefit stores for being in the network. And to be clear, when we're talking about stores in the Wizards Play Network, these are stores that are not only selling Wizards of the Coast product, but also doing some amount of in-store play, right? Typically Magic play. So great example of this is pre-release. I think a lot of people that watch your show are probably well familiar with pre-release. This is something that you can only find at stores that are in the Wizards Play Network. They are these really special times where Magic players of all walk come together, the casual folks, the veterans, the tournament grinders, and everyone can enjoy the set together for the first time. Actually, something really cool that, we're doing for the Brothers War is we are really opening it up for all products to be sold during pre-release only at WPN stores. So this is pretty big. You can't get it at your local mass market store or what have you there. So that's a huge benefit. Additionally, they get promo packs. So the way this works is stores in the Wizards Play Network, when they report events into us, we track a couple of metrics. Specifically, we track tickets and engaged players. This is essentially tickets is how many entries they're getting into all their events. Engaged players are how many players they have that are coming back to the store on a consistent basis. And based on those two numbers, each season before a major Magic release, typically the standard release, they'll get a certain number of promo packs. And these vary a little bit by region, but for the most part, they have a few promo cards in there, or they have a few rare cards, one of which is going to have like a cool promo frame from the current set or most recent sets, and stores can apply these to events however they want. We actually have very few restrictions for how they do this. So if you've got like a really strong Commander community, awesome, give promo packs for that. If you've got, Pioneer, or heck, even if you've got like Pauper going on in your community, they're allowed to use their promo packs for that as well. I know you're a fan of that one, Gavin. Another big one is buy a box. So if you buy a full display of boosters at a WPN store, there's going to be a special promo you can qualify for that. You can't get that in other channels as well. And, we will also oftentimes have exclusive products that are only available to the WPN channel. Some past examples of that have been things like the Commander collection. We also had a special release of mystery boosters that was released solely through the WPN channel, things like that. Likely we'll see more in the future. Nothing that I can speak on right now, but we're always iterating. Actually, something really cool that we're doing, kicking off with Brothers War, and we've actually committed to doing this for at least the next couple of sets after that as well, is the paper release of Magic. The first place anyone's going to be able to play Brothers War with their community is at their LGS. So pre-release at WPN stores is preceding the release on, say, Magic the Gathering Arena, and again, it is preceding the release of all the other channels as well. So it's going to be a really special pre-release week at your LGS in the WPN for Bro.
Well, very cool. People will see some of that someday, I'm sure. I know that Mystery Booster, of course, I think I'm a big fan of. So glad we got to get that out to a bunch of stores. And especially that extra batch during the pandemic too was just such a great thing to get out there. I remember hearing about that and being like, that's awesome. I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. That was, during the peak of the pandemic, we were concerned. We wanted to support our stores in the best way we could, and we did actually give a good amount of free mystery boosters to retailers so that they could sell them to their players, use them for events, what have you.
So Nelson, sometimes I hear things about how we are kind of standardizing or sterilizing the game store experience, right? Like Premium is trying to make everyone fit into the same box, right? You don't get those same kind of unique stores. You don't get the same kind of out of the box stuff. Tell me about that. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? What's your take?
Oh man, to be honest with you, I could not disagree with that more. I'll be honest with you. So as someone that has visited hundreds of stores myself, oftentimes the best stores that I see, the ones that leave the most lasting impression on me, are those stores that are different, right? That offer a unique experience or have a really cool, unique, or even quirky look. I'll be honest with you, I'll say it. I'm kind of a weird person. I like being in weird environments, and that weird is definitely not preclude quality, right? So We honestly want more stores that stand out and look different, have their own unique brand. And what premium's all about is not saying your store needs to do this, it needs to look this way, but identifying those qualities of your store that make you unique and encouraging you to lean into them. You know, what's special about your brand? Why do people remember you? Why do they keep coming back? Let's focus on that and really lean in. Something that's really important for folks to understand is that pressuring stores to comply with our vision or stick to what they view as like a rigid requirement is not our intention with WPN Premium. We really only want retailers to make changes to their business that they, regardless of achieving WPN Premium, believe would be beneficial. We need to be in this together. If you don't share the vision with us, that's totally understandable. There's no pressure to do it. You're still going to get pre-release. You're still going to get promo packs, buy a box, all of the core benefits of being in the network. We actually have dedicated business development teams standing by that exist specifically to help stores reach their business goals and hopefully achieve a WPN Premium designation. So really, I just encourage any store that thinks this could be for them to reach out to us and kick off the conversation.
So it sounds like it's really more of like a conversation back and forth than like a checklist, right? So a game store might not have something that is like traditionally what you would expect in WPN Premium, but you can talk back and forth and try and get it there, right? So it's not about, oh, you have to have this kind of flooring in your game store, or you have to have this kind of, you know, these kind of tables or whatever. There's some back and forth there. They can talk about with you to be like, oh no, we're not doing this normal thing that you see. We're doing this different thing, but here's why it's awesome. Is that right?
Oh, that's spot on, Gavin. Really, there's no one size fits all for WPN Premium at all. When it comes to kind of how stores make their way to premium, often it does take a while, but we do have teams. We've got these dedicated business development specialists that work at Wizards of the Coast to work one-on-one with stores and help them get there, right? So for a lot of stores, most stores, in fact, it's not just going to be, I checked the boxes, I sent in a video, I am now WPN Premium. There is probably going to be a process for this, but we have tools to help it. In fact, in certain regions, we actually have a grant program to help stores get whatever they need to get to that higher bar, right? Like maybe you're what's the only thing holding you back is you need some more high quality or sturdier tables and chairs, or maybe you need to redo your floorings. We've actually got money set aside specifically to help stores fund up to 50% of renovation projects like this.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool program. It's something I'm actually pretty proud of that we do as a company. You don't see a lot of it elsewhere, but I think it's a testament to show that we really are invested in working with these stores to help them provide the best possible environment and experience that they can.
So you would say we are committed to the local game store?
Absolutely. Our commitment to the LGS has never been stronger. I would say you can expect us to continue moving in that direction. That's where Magic is played. That's where Magic is bought. You know, I do have business hat Nelson on, and it's also where folks like you and myself fell in love with the game. And we want nothing more than to see the culture flourish.
So just to be crystal clear, we are committed to our LGS, to our local game stores. They are the lifeblood of Magic. They are so important. They're not going anywhere. Paper Magic's not going anywhere. Game stores are not going anywhere. And we're going to keep supporting them now into the future for as long as Magic can live. Like that's our goal.
Absolutely. Our commitment is strong.
So if someone has feedback for you or just wants to send questions or, you know, ask something, Nelson, how can they reach you or at least, you know, someone in your role at Wizards to talk to?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are a player, you know, you've got our standard feedback channel. I want to say it's feedback.wizards.com. But if you are a retailer, either interested in joining the WPN, just want to learn a little bit more about it, or maybe you're an existing WPN member who's interested in premium, you can reach us at wpn.wizards.com. There is a contact link that you can find on the page. I also moderate our WPN Facebook group. This is a place where retailers can gather to learn about all things happening in the WPN or our products. You can also discuss industry trends, strategies for running events, selling products, provide feedback to myself and ask questions. It's a really great resource, and I encourage anyone who's in the WPN to join. I'd be happy to have you in the group.
Oh, that's really cool. Awesome. Well, it's great to have like a like-minded place for everyone to get together. Now, one final question before we go. I'm just curious, Nelson. You've been to so many game stores. I'm not gonna ask you to pick a favorite because that's not appropriate. But I will ask you is there a thing you've seen at one of these stores or a couple of these stores that really stands out as like, wow, that was memorable. That was so cool. It's like a thing that, you know, everyone out there be like, that sounds awesome. Like, is there anything that comes to mind of a store you've been to?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Yes, there's been so many experiences like that. I mean, one thing that's cool about LGS is I think more so than any other type of retail business is they lean into the cool, the quirky, the weird, and the memorable. But I do have an experience at a place called the Wizard's Chest. That's out in Denver, where they actually have like magical gates where you can activate using wands to open doors and find little Easter eggs throughout the store. Kind of tells a story as you're walking through. It's also just a beautifully decorated store. They are currently WPN Premium as well, but that one definitely left a lasting impression on myself.
Wow, I am I'm bummed I missed that store visit trip. Jeez, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and you can see a sampling of some of the awesome stores that we have WPN Premium in this video here. But we've also got a dedicated gallery that is open to the public that shows you a lot more stores. So you can check that out. I believe Gavin's going to throw a link into the description of the video here. And please, they are beautiful, they are gorgeous, and they are worth your viewership.
If I don't include that link in the description and you're watching this right now, yell at me in the comments. Make sure that it's there, okay? Well, so cool. Thank you so much, Nelson, for joining us today. I really appreciate you kind of talking through both how committed we are to the LGS and also just what premium is, because, you know, I think a lot of people hear that and aren't exactly sure what that means. If you have any questions for Nelson or additional thoughts, please drop them in the comments down below. And of course, we'll be reading through all those. Anything you want to say before we take off the day, Nelson? Any parting words?
Nothing other than I appreciate folks listening in on this. I mean, the LGS is so important to us here at Wizards of the Coast. And really what I just want to get across is the truth, the reality that the LGS is Wizards of the Coast's greatest ally. And we want nothing more than our relationship with them to flourish and grow into the future. It's super important for our games, our products, and the culture at large.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Nelson. Thanks to all of you for watching. And please, like I said, drop any comments you have below. We'll be reading through all those. I'll talk with you again soon. And until then, you have a lot of fun playing in your local game store. You got this. All right, here's another Coalesce Apparel shirt featuring the senators of New Provincial School of Law. It's going to be shirt number 8 on the board. All right, things getting a little tight, but we can definitely keep going. We want to maximize our chances. So here's our next shirt, which is a snow design. This is one of ours that came out with Kaldheim. That's going to be shirt